Now we've got the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate in Missouri, Lucas Kunce. Thanks for coming back on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I always love being here.
So, Lucas, we've got some big news here regarding Josh Hawley. So I want to draw your attention first to a tweet that he posted in 2018. Claire McCaskill's definition of being the hardest working Democrat in the party, skipping out on her luxury RV to fly in her luxury jet. It must be good to be rich and liberal. Which brings us to today. So what did his latest FEC filing show?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that he's rich and an a-hole, right? Like a complete hypocrite. I mean, the guy's, he doesn't have a campaign event here for 55 days. He comes into the state and zips around on a Gulfstream 4 fancy luxury jet with Harrison Butker on a bromance tour about how wouldn't it just be a beautiful thing if women step aside? Like, it's absolutely unreal.
I want to throw your attention to that clip right here.
How beautiful it is for women to maybe just step aside.
So, Lucas, what was your reaction to seeing Josh Hawley alongside Harrison Butker as he made those comments about women?
I mean, this is a confirmation of everything we know about Josh Hawley. I'm glad he's out there campaigning and letting people know what he really stands for. I mean, this is probably the worst U.S. senator on women's reproductive rights, which, I mean, it's kind of an accomplishment, right? When you consider some of the folks
saying something. Yeah,
it's insane. It's impressive, though. I mean, when the IVF was banned in Alabama for a little bit, Josh Hawley, very cutting edge on that issue. He'd written an article in 2013 where he said that in vitro fertilization, the morning after pill, and any type of contraception that prevents the implantation of a fertilized egg is abortion. He's voted against for protections for pregnant workers. The list is so long. He recently came out and said that we need to reconsider the wisdom of no-fault divorces because I guess that he's tired of women getting out of unsafe and abusive marriages. It's just unreal. And so for them to be, plotting their little bromance step aside tour, like, no surprise to me. I'm glad he's doing it. We got abortion on the ballot here in the fall, and this is what Missourians need to know.
So let's talk about the direct impact of Josh Hawley being in the U.S. Senate versus another Missouri Republican, Roy Blunt. So a senator's job, ostensibly, is to bring back money to their state. How has Hawley performed on that front?
Well, it's a big fat zero. He has Roy Blunt, our previous Republican, did the baseline job, which is bring home about $300 million to Missouri every single year in directed spending. And so Josh Hawley has just said that he's not going to do that. He thinks he's the national senator from Missouri, and it's just not his problem. But the impact on Missouri is absolutely tangible. I grew up in a great working class neighborhood when I was a kid. My family went bankrupt for medical bills, and we made it because the people in our neighborhood, who had no more money than we did, they passed the plate for us. They brought more food by the house and we could eat and really took care of us. And if you go back there today, Josh Hawley's neglect of our state, it just shows everywhere. I mean, the first house I lived in is an empty lot. The one I joined the Marine Corps out of that everybody brought food by is it's boarded up to keep the squatters out. And the store on the corner was shut down because it was robbed so much it couldn't get insurance. That's Josh Hawley's Missouri. All he cares about is making $500,000 writing self-help books about other people's manhood and, trying to be president. And he doesn't care about our state. He doesn't bring money back here. And I guess this is good news, but the people in Missouri realize that and we're ready to kick him out.
So what is Hawley doing with his time if he's not bringing back money to the state?
Well, he's writing self-help books. He's plotting how he's going to take over and control women's lives, decide how all of us get to live. And, getting his staff to write Project 2025. Josh Hawley is deep into this. He was actually an intern at Heritage Foundation back in the day. He's been very close with them. Several members of his staff contributed to that. He is an architect of Project 2025, which we all know is about tracking women's pregnancies, taking money away from working people, and destroying the way of life that we've all come to know here in Missouri and all across the country. And it's just, if he wants to do that, great, go write your books, go write your, crazy manifestos about how you want to take over the world, but leave the position that you're in so that someone there can actually do the work for Missouri.
To that point, Lucas, what would it mean to be a red state Democrat in the U.S. Senate, a Democrat from the state of Missouri as the 50th vote in terms of what you can deliver for your voters, versus Hawley being just another Republican from a red state?
It'd be huge for us. I have a Marshall Plan for the Midwest that would be great for all of America, that builds out the next generation of energy and manufacturing right here in the heart of America, where we've lost so many jobs. And it's just it would be good for all of us. It'd be great for the union workers who work here, everyday workers who need a job. It's just, there's so much potential and so much opportunity for us here in this state, across the Midwest, and even nationally. And we just, like, when we have someone who's not a serious senator, who doesn't care about doing the job, just likes to yell a lot, he's a real show horse, but he's not a workhorse. All of us suffer because of that. And it's just, it's going to be transformational when I win this thing and start delivering for Missouri.
How does seeing what Joe Manchin, for example, was able to leverage in his role as a red state Democrat, how does that kind of inform what you would be able to do?
I mean, it's that's what I want to do, right? I want to use my leverage, the fact that we've won this seat, and the fact that we won the seat like on a message of delivering for Missouri, right? If we want to keep this, we have to deliver for Missouri. That's just the only way that it's going to work. And the people here need it. I mean, we've been neglected for so long that, like I said, our neighborhoods are falling apart, our infrastructure is falling apart. We've been decimated by big ag and monopolists because politicians like Josh Hawley, they take money from the wrong people and they let those folks just strip our communities for parts.
How has that kind of presented itself or manifested on the campaign trail? Are you hearing from people who have been lifelong Republicans who recognize A, the inaction of Josh Hawley, but B, what you would be able to do being a red state Democrat, being the 50th vote basically in the U.S. Senate once you got there?
Absolutely, man. I mean, I just got an email yesterday morning from a guy who said he's a Republican. He's 60 years old. He has voted for Republicans every single one of the 40 years that he's been voting. He says he's going to vote for Donald Trump, but he's going to vote for me because, to quote him, because I'm better for Missouri than Josh Hawley. And it's just, that's what we need right now. And I hear that over and over again out on the campaign trail. We have groups like the International Association of Firefighters here who endorsed Roy Blunt, our current Republican for governor, our past Roy Blunt was our former Republican senator, many Republican members of Congress, but they're not voting. They're not supporting Josh Hawley. They're supporting me instead because they love my record of service, being in the Marine Corps forever. They love the way that I grew up, and they know that if they want someone to deliver for this state, I'm the only guy who's going to do it for them. So it gives us a real opportunity here. And the other real big, strong thing that we got going for me is I take no money from corporate PACs, no money from federal lobbyists, no money from big pharma executives. None of these people who've been buying off weak-minded, ambitious, hungry people like Josh Hawley and using them to just gut our state. And so, that's what people want. They just want to be invested in. They want someone who will take care of them, give them opportunities. And what they don't want is creeps like Josh Hawley deciding how they get to live, controlling their lives, and taking away their decision-making.
Lucas, how has this idea of this longstanding idea of Republicans branding as the party of freedom and versus what it is now, which is obviously the complete antithesis of that? I mean, Republicans are looking to monitor pregnancies, to monitor periods, to monitor where you can travel in this country, to monitor where you can what you can read. How has that manifested itself among people who have, for a long time, for their entire lives, identified as Republicans, which is purportedly the party that values freedom and limited government?
Here we've been trying to take power back from these creepy, controlling politicians like Josh Hawley for a little while. We overturned his anti-union right to work legislation, 68% to 32% on ballot initiative. We made it legal to smoke weed on ballot initiative. We expanded Medicaid over their objections on ballot initiative. We've just done thing after thing after thing. We have a constitutional amendment to basically codify Roe versus Wade. That's going to win this year. It's like people here are stoked to take power back for themselves. Like, Missouri is a freedom-loving place. I don't know my other states that well, but I'm going to tell you what, man, it's top-notch here. That's what we want. We want the government out of our lives. We want to be able to make our own decisions. Again, we just want our senators and our representatives to invest in us, right? Like, so that we can make our own decisions. And I learned Missourians are good at making their own decisions when I was a kid. I mentioned it, but like when my family went bankrupt, it was really, really hard. I mean, my mom and dad just struggling, not only because they didn't know if my little sister was going to make it, but because they didn't know how our family was going to make it. And we didn't make it because the country club politicians like Josh Hawley on the other side of town were there for us. Again, we made it because the working class people in that neighborhood who had no more money than we did took care of us. And that's the spirit we got here. I'm going to support that spirit every day. And I can tell everybody when I go out on the campaign trail, like, I'm going to stand beside working people every single day because that's who took care of me and my family when we didn't know how we're going to make it. And that's a winning message, man.
Lucas, what's your message to people out there who may not be that involved in politics, but do know that they're going to show up to vote for the abortion rights measure that's going to be on the ballot, but otherwise don't really have much of an incentive, they feel like, to vote for the politicians down and up the ballot?
Yeah, if you're tired of these guys taking money from the wrong people and stripping our country, stripping our state, stripping our communities for parts, if you want to fundamentally change who has power in this country, like, I'm the guy who's going to do that. I'm the only guy who's going to do that. Again, no money from corporate PACs, no money from federal lobbyists, no money from big pharma executives. I don't take any of that. We do things the right way. Our average donation is like $30. And I do that for a reason, because the only people I'm ever going to know are everyday Missourians like those in my old neighborhood who took care of me and my family. And so, like, if you want to make your own decisions, if you want to bring money back home, you're going to have to vote for me, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do both those things.
Lucas, you've got a debate coming up at the end of the month here with Josh Hawley. What's your goal at that debate?
It's just to let everybody know who I am, right? I'm a normal guy who grew up in mid-Missouri. Obviously we went through some stuff when I was a kid, but I made something of my life. I joined the Marine Corps to honor and serve everybody who took care of me. I did 13 years on active duty. I've led a police training team in Iraq, deployed to Afghanistan twice. Like, my life is about service. And I want to contrast that with Josh Hawley, right? A guy who, when he's in school, works at the Heritage Foundation, figuring out how they can control everybody's lives. His first job out of school was literally at Washington, D.C.'s biggest corporate lobbying law firm. Like, that is who this guy is at his core. He doesn't care about anybody else. He just cares about himself. And we got to contrast those two things, how I'm going to invest in Missourians, I'm going to take care of everybody, I'm going to make it so we can make our own decisions, and about how he only cares about himself, whatever his personal ambitions are, getting rich, and he just leaves us behind and neglects us. And that is the contrast that we have. And that's my goal, to get out the debate. And I just know it's going to come across because it's the truth. And we got the truth standing behind us.
Lucas, how can we help your campaign?
So we are hand to mouth right now with advertising. Like, we have found that our message works. When we give the contrast out against Josh Hawley, we win this. Republicans come over. Everyday people in this state who don't pay a lot of attention come over. We just got to remind them why they hate Josh Hawley, because honestly, they all do. Like, he's a very unlikable person. You can tell that he's kind of smarmy and only cares about himself. And so we need help getting that message out. If you can go to lucaskunce.com and donate, it would be absolutely huge for us. If you're in Missouri, don't forget to vote. Tell your friends and family to vote. Get them out. If you know people in Missouri, do the same thing. We're running phone banks every night. We're doing text messages. Sign up to volunteer on the website if you don't have the financial means. Like, this is all hands on deck. But I'm going to tell you right now, if we build an army that marches all the way through November 5th, we will win this. We will take it. The polling has been so close, 4 points, 5 points in some of the latest polls. We're closing the gap rapidly. We just need your help to push us over the finish line.
And I would just echo that. We did have a Democrat just a few years back in the U.S. Senate from Missouri. And again, that was before really the people of Missouri got to know exactly who Josh Hawley is and what a hypocrite he's presented himself as. And I would just echo too, look, for those watching right now, this is exactly the kind of person that we need in the U.S. Senate. This is somebody who is there for the right reasons, who's there to help people in his state, not just to build his brand or to use his constituents or the U.S. Senate as a ladder for his own personal ambition. So this guy is the real deal here. And I do think that everybody would be well served by having him in office. So again, if you haven't yet had the opportunity, please visit his website. Link is right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. Lucas, thank you for taking the time. Best of luck on this campaign show in the last few weeks here.
Thanks for having me, brother. Always love coming on. Really appreciate it.